Sometimes, no matter how carefully you plan out a trip, things just happen and things go wrong quite badly, and there's nothing you can do about it. So my flight from Lisbon to Prague was uneventful and an absolute pleasure. I had a 2-day workshop in Prague, went quite well. I didn't worry about exploring much of Prague this visit because I had explored it a previous visit. So it was also raining the one day, so it was definitely not the weather to go and explore Prague. And then flying from Prague to Baku via Istanbul, that part went smoothly as well. Although I arrived in Baku at, what time was it? About 6 o'clock in the morning, which meant I had been traveling since 5 o'clock the evening before. So it's quite a long time to go traveling. Great view of the Caspian Sea from my hotel room in the morning. You can see that, look at that, beautiful. So the school visit in Baku went well. I was working with some lovely people. Didn't take the time out to explore Baku that much because we were working. So basically, people say, oh, these are great workations. It's not really. You go airport, hotel, hotel, school, hotel, school, hotel, school, basically hotel, back to airport, and you're out of there. So you only actually get a chance to do exploring maybe in the evening when you're going for dinner, but I didn't really go. I only went out for dinner one night that I was there. Otherwise I stayed in the hotel room. So that was pleasant. I've been to Baku before as well, so I have toured through the city and seen the sights. So it wasn't new to me. If a place is new and I haven't been there before, I do try and find time to explore. But both Prague and Baku I've been to before, so there was no urgency to go out exploring. So the plan was that I would be getting up at 3 in the morning, driving to the airport at 3:30 in the morning, and then catching the 6:30 a.m. flight from Baku to Istanbul, and then from Istanbul to Lisbon, and then I'd be arriving at Lisbon at 3:30 in the afternoon. So my brother coordinated his flight from Cape Town so that he would be arriving in Lisbon at 2:30. And then we would meet my daughter and her boyfriend who had arrived in Lisbon the day before, and then we were going to drive to the farm, and then the Friday morning we were then going to be driving from the farm to Valencia and spending the night in Valencia, and then from Valencia to Marseille, because we got tickets to go and see the Springboks versus Tonga rugby game in the Rugby World Cup. I'm a bit of a rugby fanatic, as you might have guessed. So that was the plan. But what happened was there was a thick fog over the airport in Baku. So although the 5:35 a.m. Turkish Airlines flight could take off, the incoming flight couldn't see the runway to be able to land. So they flew around in circles apparently for about 2 hours, and then they were starting to run out of fuel, so they had to fly to another airport some distance away, obviously, a couple of hours away, to refuel and then come back. So we had our flight being delayed from 6:30 to 7:30. Then it was delayed until 8, and then it was delayed until 10. So eventually it then said, okay, 10:50, and then that changed to 11. But at 10 o'clock, they brought out some sodas and a cheese roll for all of us, so that we at least had something to eat, because we'd been at the airport since 4 o'clock. So we'd already been at the airport for 6 hours at that stage. And then, so at 10:50, they then said, okay, right, we can start boarding, because by that stage, the plane had arrived back. So we all, I think, then it was delayed, I think, another 10 minutes until 11. But anyway, at that time, we then all boarded the flight. We got buckled in. They did the whole safety thing. The pilot started reversing out of the parking bay, but he only reversed like a few meters, and then he went back into the parking bay. And they announced that the pilot and the crew were tired from all the delays and that. And so we had to get off the plane, go and wait in the airport again. And it would then be, we got to wait for a new crew to fly in from Istanbul. So because my flight from Istanbul to Lisbon was at 12:30, I knew that there was no ways I was going to make that flight. And my heart was dropping, because obviously I was not going to be able to meet up with my brother and my daughter and a boyfriend and go to the farm, because I'm still stuck in the airport at Baku. So they then announced that it would be at 16:50, 10 to 5 would be, the flight was delayed until then, because they had to fly in a new crew from Istanbul. So at 3 o'clock, they decided, oh, maybe we want lunch. So we were given like a roll with polony on and another soda. Because Baku Airport, once you go past passport control, there aren't restaurants or coffee shops, and it's all before passport control. And because we all had single entry visas, we couldn't leave the area we were in to go out to the restaurant, because we wouldn't have, we didn't have a visa to re-enter Azerbaijan. So it was difficult. And what made it difficult for some of the other passengers, there'd been a big international judo competition, participants from all over the world, and they were all blind, and there was no communication whatsoever from Turkish Airlines, nothing. And like these athletes, these blind athletes, they couldn't read anything that was going up, and it was not communicated verbally. Nobody knew what was going on. There were two staff who were trying to handle all the questions and the queries. People were getting angry. It was quite chaotic. And then they were trying to rebook everybody, because most people had connecting flights in Istanbul. So they were trying to reconnect everybody onto other flights. And oh man, it was chaos, pure chaos. Anyway, so eventually the 10 to 5 flight got delayed until 6 o'clock, and then it was delayed again until 6:30. So basically this is now 12 hours since the flight was supposed to leave, and if you add in the time that you got there at like 4 o'clock, it's like 14 and a half hours of wait. Anyway, so we arrived in Istanbul eventually, and there was nobody from Turkish Airlines there to meet us, to tell us what the plan was. The Turkish Airlines people at Azerbaijan had told us that we would be given a free night stay at a hotel inside the airport. And so we were all expecting when we arrived in Istanbul that there would be staff there with hotel vouchers to tell us what was happening. Nobody. It was just crickets, I tell you. So they try and find out from flight attendants what you must do, and they say, oh no, you must just go to the client services. So you go to like the client services, the customer services area, and you trying to tell them the story, and they were so rude and just shouting at us. They were shouting at us, and we're just trying to find out like what hotel are we supposed to go to, and they started shouting. Anyway, everybody was wandering around. Nobody knew what was going on. So some of us made our way to the hotel inside the airport. And when I got there, they said, oh no, this isn't covered by Turkish Airlines. You have to pay to stay there. You don't get they don't give out vouchers. And it was very, very, very expensive. It was like, no way. So you find yourself wandering around, and the airport is so busy, so noisy, so brightly lit, lots of people, trying to find like a corner where you can lie across three seats and try and sleep. So I tried to do that, and you do that for a bit, and then you get up and you walk around again. And I actually went downstairs, and I found a place called like the Care, Turkish Airlines Care area. So I went there, and it turns out that's this place we should have gone to, but nobody had told us, and it wasn't even on the same floor or level as where we had arrived. And I asked about the hotel, and they said, oh, you've got to go through passport control. And out just on the other side of passport control, there's a desk, and there you will get the Turkish Airlines shuttle that'll take you to the hotel in the city somewhere. But now my flight was at 7:20 the next morning, and I'm just thinking, getting back in, this was already now like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I don't have a visa to go into Turkey. So you sort of think, okay, I can buy an e-visa online, but is it worth it to drive sort of like, I don't know, the hour into the city, and then you're going to have like 2 or 3 hours sleep maybe, and then you got to head back to the airport. So, but it was just, we weren't given food vouchers, nothing, no meal vouchers. It was like a 14.5-hour delay, and you weren't, well, 12.5 hours, because I suppose you can't really count your normal waiting time while you wait for the flight. Anyway, so that was, so you get to Istanbul, and as I say, like nobody cared how much they'd put us out, how we'd all missed our connecting flights. Some people were flying, some of these athletes were having to fly to Brazil or in Ecuador and Argentina, and I mean, it was like everybody was tired. So my young daughter said, I can't miss the World Cup rugby game that I'd been so excited about with all our plans. So she bought me a flight from Lisbon to Valencia. So they already had started their drive to Valencia, and she said, then I can meet them in Valencia and then join the trip from there. When I was, so I only have, like I travel with hand luggage so that I don't have to go to the carousel and collect my bags from the baggage claim. So I had, yeah, obviously all my clothing, whatever that I'd had with me, was in my bag. And my plan obviously had been that I was going to be going home, putting the dirty clothes in the laundry basket, putting clean clothes in for my trip to Marseille. That had been the plan. So at Lisbon, it was going to be, I had an hour and a half between my Turkish Airlines flight landing and the Air Europa flight taking off for Valencia. And at first I thought it wouldn't be a problem. But then Turkish Airlines had a bit of a 20-minute delay before the pilot took off. And then when we arrived in Lisbon, we sat on the runway for 45 minutes. So by this stage, it's like, what was the time? It was about, I had, I think, 25 minutes to get through passport control, through security again, and run the length of the airport and to catch the flight to Valencia. And I didn't think I would make it. But I tell you, these fat little legs have never moved so fast. I was speed walking through that airport. I was even overtaking people who were walking on the travelator. That's how fast I was moving. To get to the gate. And at passport control, luckily, one of the security people let me jump the queue when I showed them my boarding pass. So I downloaded on the phone, so I didn't have to go and check in and whatever. Again, I only had hand luggage, it wasn't a problem. So I got to the gate as the last lot of people from Zone 3 was boarding. And the staff said, we've got to take your hand luggage bag because all the overhead lockers are full already. So I thought, okay, so they're going to put it in the hold. Don't worry, it's going all the way to Valencia. I know you can already see what's going to happen of this disastrous flying story. You can tell already what's going to happen. I know that. And so I arrived, so I had to go to Madrid, and then from Madrid get on another plane to Valencia. Anyway, so I arrive in Valencia. My bag they took off me in Lisbon does not arrive in Valencia. And we were leaving very, very early the next morning to drive to Marseille. I didn't know what the Airbnb's address was that my daughter had booked, and but we wouldn't have been there anyway when the plane was going to come in. But the people at Valencia airport were very, very helpful. They gave me like a little goodie bag with toiletries and even a t-shirt and a little sachet of washing powder so I can wash clothes. And they said they will keep my bag for me to pick it up on my return drive back from Marseille to the farm where I drive through Valencia. Anyway, so I'm in Marseille and I don't really have clothes. But we're going to be watching hopefully a very good rugby game. So I thought I'd just bring you up to speed with what has happened. Not impressed with the rudeness and the customer service from Turkish Airlines. Really, their slogan is miles and smiles, and I'll tell you something, they're miles from smiles. I think that's what they should change it to. But my daughter and her boyfriend and friend that was with them and my brother David stopped off at the farm to check on everything, and they took a couple of photos. And some drone footage as well, I think. But anyway, that's my little update about my interesting trip. I had 2 assignments back to back, and then I'm now sitting here talking to you from the Airbnb my daughter has rented in Marseille, and the game is tomorrow. So they haven't given us a Wi-Fi password. We don't even see a modem. I don't think it's got Wi-Fi. So the chances are you're only going to see this video after Sunday in the game. So in the meantime, keep safe, keep sane, and I'll see you in the next video.
And go.
You can do. Yes, yes, yes!
Are you ready, Lou? Come to daddy.